Hi, students of class 9th. Here I am with this first chapter of your civics book, Democracy in the Contemporary World. And I had posted one video earlier just to give you the clear idea of what democracy actually is. So, if you have understood democracy and its basic fundamental principles, you'll find it much easy to understand the chapters. So in this chapter, as you see that there are case studies. So whether it is the case study of Alande from child or from Poland, right? So you will need to understand why the incidents happened or why these case studies are important. So let me remind you very quickly that democracy should have right to vote, equal weightage to all votes, regular elections, impartial elections, more than one political party, and participation of masses. These are basic qualities that a democratic country should have. So there are many democracies in the world, the so-called democracies, but many of these countries do not hold true on all these conditions. So they are not true democracy. So now to understand democracy, we need to understand some case studies. And since the chapter says in the contemporary world, contemporary मतलब आजकल की दुनिया में, आजकल मतलब 2020 मतलब नहीं है, वर्तमान प्रेजेंट डे वर्ड. Okay, so this let's talk of 19th century, 20th century and 21st century. Round about this period we will be covering mainly 20th and 21st century we will be talking about. So the first case study it is of Chile. The president Allende, and Allende gave one radio broadcast on the eve of 11 September 1973, in which he talked about a possible sacrifice that he will be making, the threat to the democracy in the country, and how he might not be there to continue with the democracy. So now what happened actually over there? So Allende was the president of Chile in South America, and his government was overthrown by a military coup, COUP, coup. Okay, so what is coup? Coup is an illegal overthrow of a legal government. For example, a government chosen legally through elections, and suddenly the military declares that the government will not continue, they will be holding the control of the government and all that. So it's an illegal throw. So military coup happened in Chile, and he was killed. He was killed in this military outburst. They had started throwing bombs at his palace, and he was killed. He was the founder leader of Socialist Party of Chile, and he led the Popular Unity Coalition to victory in 1970. So he had been president for 3 years, and he was popular among masses because of many reforms. For example, the educational system reforms, free milk for children, redistribution of land to the landless farmer. Now this one particular reform was largely responsible for his unpopularity, or the landowners and the wealthy landowners not liking him, and they started their planning to overthrow his democratic government. So the landlords, the rich and the church, okay, they all opposed his policies. But it is also said that this military coup was also supported by USA, because USA also did not like certain policies of his. So they also supported the coup. On the morning of 11 September, the military took over the seaport. Then the defense minister was arrested, and then Allende refused to resign. he refused to resign in support of the military, or he also refused to leave the country, and he gave an address to the nation, telling the current situation at that time, whatever was happening. And then in the military bombing of his palace, he died, and the power passed on to the hands of General Pinochet. Pinochet, and it is pronounced as Pinochet, and he was the military commander. So he became the head of the country, and he remained the head of the country for coming 17 years. Coming 17 years, the child remained a military dictatorship, and General Pinochet remained at the helm of the power. He was the head of the government, and then after and in between, lot of people were killed. Countless people were killed. Many people in military, including General Alberto Bachelet of Chilean Air Force, and thousands others, they were killed. Many people simply vanished, and it was never they never resurfaced, and no one knows what happened to them. Now, in 1988, after 17 years, General Pinochet, people were still favoring democracy, okay? They wanted democracy. And more so now, because the atrocities, I'm sure the dictatorial government never is the choice of the people. So, they were waiting for a turn. And in 1988, General Pinochet held a referendum. Now, what is referendum? It's a public voting. Everybody gets to vote on a matter of national issue. So he held a referendum just to see what next should be followed, and people voted against him. So General Pinochet was voted out of his political power, and then later out of his military power also, and hence democracy was revived in Chile. And who became the elected, in 2006, who became the elected president of Chile was daughter of the same Air Force officer who was killed by General Pinochet. And Chile has remained a good democracy. We will continue to discuss this in detail. This is just the first episode to the case study.